You witnessed how things began. Claire disappeared without a trace in the first part, and the police buried the case within days. Her mother, Cynthia, refused to accept the lies. Hidden video, green truck. Private investigator got too close and disappeared. Then came the flash drive. Evidence points to something much bigger than just a missing girl. Now, it's time to trace that trail back to the survivors, the cover-ups, and what they were never supposed to find. This is the second chapter of the story that they attempted to erase. So, let's begin. Aegis Black leaked portions of the drive online. Let's leap at the files were heavily encrypted. It took weeks to decode. Inside were internal memos, case reports, deleted surveillance logs, and confidential personnel files implicating multiple officers, including Eli Mercer, in a cover-up operation. The documents revealed a long-running program labeled Nighthold, which rerouted certain missing person reports through a private contractor for sensitive case handling. Kane had flagged these anomalies. The collective launched a public site showing redacted excerpts from the files. Reddit forums exploded. Independent journalists began connecting the dots. The FBI opened a probe, but within days, Aegis Black's site was taken down in a coordinated takedown. Subpoenas were issued. Online discussions vanished. Yet thousands had already seen the files and downloaded them. A month later, a former police clerk named Heather Morley came forward. She appeared anonymously on a podcast known for exposing institutional corruption. Heather had worked in the evidence intake unit. She confirmed that Kane's bag and drive were logged, then pulled under special directive and reassigned off-record. She described a hidden evidence freezer, code-locked, no paper trail, used for suppressing sensitive materials. She named names. 3 days later, she vanished. Her apartment found empty, no signs of struggle. Her podcast interview pulled from streaming platforms. But not before thousands had saved it. Cynthia, now in full survival mode. I released a documentary-style video on YouTube, detailing the entire timeline. She used archived footage, voice recordings, and copies of Kane's files. Within 48 hours, it went viral. News stations picked it up. Civil rights groups called for investigations. Claire's face returned to national TV. Cynthia received death threats. Her car was vandalized. She refused to stop. She filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city, citing the leaked files as evidence of conspiracy and misconduct. The case went to court. In March 2013, the trial of Eddington versus Marlow Ridge began. National media covered it. Protesters lined the courthouse. Mercer took the stand. He denied wrongdoing. Under cross-examination, his testimony cracked. Emails surfaced, suppressed by the defense, that showed Mercer discussing containment protocols. The judge ordered an investigation into evidence tampering. The city settled before the trial ended. The FBI raided the private contractor's facility. They discovered a warehouse of boxed files, hundreds of missing persons, unreported or suppressed. Among them, a blood sample tied to Claire. Her name, her case number. She had never left town. Aegis Black released the final decrypted file Kane had marked. Eddington, 12B. It showed surveillance stills from June 12, 2011, previously deleted. Claire entered the van, a gloved hand, coordinates. Final image, Claire is lying unconscious. Location, still unknown. But now, the whole world was watching. The truth wasn't buried anymore. By the way, if you're into strange and unbelievable true stories like this one, make sure to subscribe. We drop a new story every single day, and trust me, they only get wilder from here. Now, back to it. In August 2013, months after the trial, a woman walked into a small urgent care clinic in rural Arkansas, bruised and emaciated. She gave a fake name at intake, Anna Kent, but her fingerprints triggered a flag. She was Claire Eddington. She had survived. The staff called local authorities, but by the time police arrived, she had vanished. A nurse recovered a crumpled note from her bed. "They're still out there. Don't trust anyone." The FBI quietly confirmed the identity match. Cynthia, shown the file privately, collapsed. For days, she refused to believe it. until she received a call from a blocked number. The voice was soft, raspy. "Mom, it's me." The line went dead. Agents traced the call to a rural farm property, once leased under a shell corporation connected to the Nighthold program. The building was abandoned, but inside they found evidence of captivity. Restraints, cameras, prescription meds, logs of names and dates. Some names matched missing girls. DNA was recovered, but no sign of Claire. Outside, buried in a dry well, they found something else. A sealed steel box containing videotapes. Each was labeled with a code and a date. The earliest dates back to 2007. The latest, June 11, 2011. What was on them would never be publicly revealed. But investigators who viewed the footage resigned days later. Under mounting pressure, the Department of Justice launched a full investigation, codenamed Operation Ashfall. Whistleblowers were granted protection. Dozens of officers were quietly suspended. Contracts were dissolved. Files leaked to international journalists revealed the Nighthold program had ties to high-level political figures and was funded under emergency security clauses post 9/11. Marlow Ridge wasn't an isolated case. It was a testing ground. In early 2014, Aegis Black posted a final encrypted message on its dark website. It contained a video. In it, Claire, alive, visibly older, stares into the camera. Her hair is short. A scar runs along her collarbone. "They think they control everything," she says, voice steady. "They use fear. They erase lives. They erased mine." She pauses. Her eyes shift. "But I remember. I remember everything." The video ends with coordinates, leading not to a city, but a place deep in the Marlow forest. A final search team entered the forest with Claire's coordinates. What they found was a mass grave, 12 bodies. 9 were identified as missing teens. Among them was Lara Kane. The last body was never identified, but next to it lay an evidence bag. Inside, a second flash drive. On it, a complete list of Nighthold operatives. The government sealed the findings, but one reporter had already downloaded the contents. Her name? Claire Eddington. Fade to black. End. They tried to erase her, to silence every voice that searched for truth. But the story didn't die in the forest or court filings or on encrypted drives. It lived in a mother who refused to forget. In files dragged back from the digital grave, in names no longer missing but remembered. And in Claire, no longer a victim, but the voice that cracked the system wide open. Because sometimes, the only way to survive is to come back louder than the lie. But something about this story doesn't feel finished. What do you think happened? Leave your theory in the comments. And if this story gave you chills, wait until tomorrow. Because every single day, we uncover real stories darker than fiction. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications for more.